So when you can implement these skills into the relationship, then you start to motivate your partner, and then you become great, rather than that massive first step that keeps so many couples stuck.
Charlie, thank you so much for coming onto the podcast.
Pleasure, brother.
Now I'm excited for you to be here and answer some questions that I have in regards to relationship conflict. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, spicy subject.
Yeah. Because I know you teach this, and I know you're like really good at it. You and your partner like go nuts on it. You're the guy to go see for content in regards to conflict in relationships. What's the conflict that you've gotten in recently in your relationship, and how have you dissolved it?
Oh, I think something I fall into the trap of is doing too much work and not switching off. Like, Mia and I work together, we build a business together, we're the best friends, we're intimate together, we're housemates, we're all this together, we wear so many hats in the relationship. And then we're working really hard on a business at the moment, and it can get to 9 o'clock at night and we're still wearing the hat of business partners. And we're like, oh God, we need to take this off sometime so we can actually have sex every now and then, because we can't have sex when you're talking about spreadsheets and content and stuff. So that's something I fall into. So just not making the effort of that, unconsciously just continuing to do work because I feel that's important, and not actually stepping back and be like, okay, what actually do we need to work on right now, rather than just continuously doing the business owner. Take that hat off and actually work on the relationship. So that's something we get into all the time.
I can imagine you're like, babe, that email you wrote was so sexy.
That's foreplay at the moment.
That's foreplay. That email was so hot.
I love the hook you put on that piece of content there.
That really gets me going. Oh gosh, no, I really like that. And I think it's like a lot of people can relate to that, especially like being able to take that like hat off. Is there anything you think that like predominantly male or women, is there one of the sex that find it more difficult to switch off?
Yeah, definitely men, I find, because a lot of the issues with men is they're not present in their relationship. Their brain's always thinking about the future or worrying about the past. And it's like, if you're in your head, you're dead. You need to be in your body. And the only way you can be in your body is your brain being where your fear is. So men, a lot of the time, never feel like they're doing enough, never feel like they've accomplished enough, never feeling good enough maybe. And it's all these things that constantly make them live in the future rather than being present. Because they want to provide so much for their girlfriend, right? They want to provide financially. They want to provide a house over their head. They want to work. But maybe all your girlfriend wants is to spend time with you, is to be present with you. But you're trying to give her love in the way that she maybe doesn't want to receive it. You're trying to give her love in the way of working hard and providing, where maybe all she wants is to spend time with you. So I feel like men struggle most with it.
Yeah, and I think there's like I was trying to like relate to that is like it's an attachment to the outcome. Because a lot of guys be like, well, the whole reason that like as you mentioned, like, I'm doing all of this is for you. And that's like an attachment, as you mentioned, to a future outcome, which is like, no, I'm providing value and it's going to come soon. We're going to get there soon. And when I finally get there, then I'll be the present guy that you want.
Exactly. It's always living in the gap and the gain, right?
Yeah.
Incredible book. People live in the gain. People live in the gap of comparing themselves to the ideal and always chasing that ideal, where it's a horizon that just keeps on moving. You'll never actually get there. So people live in this fantasy of, when we do this, then we'll be this. And there's this constant contract they've got going on. It's like, when we reach this thing, then we'll be happy. Then we can spend time together. Then we can buy this thing. Then we can go out for food together. It's like, you need to bring that now and look at the gain of how far you've come and actually be present in your relationship rather than always thinking that you're not doing enough, right?
Oh, 100%. So otherwise you just, the gap's a terrible place to be in.
Yeah, this is the source of all unhappiness.
Yeah, so, it's just the worst. So, like, how did you, like, I'm curious in terms of, what were some of the things that you overcome that led you, like, especially like in relationship, that led you to being like, oh shit, like, I've got a medicine here and, like, I really want to teach it. And how did they, like, land?
Yeah, so the whole fascination around the relationship stuff and teaching other people was, I was in a 7-year relationship and then came out of that, and I really had to find myself again. And then looking back at that relationship and seeing how many blind spots I had, how I was acting, how I was creating all these problems, I was like, that's so obvious now looking back. I was doing a lot of work, a lot of personal development, a lot of reading, a lot of meditating, and looking back at those experiences, I'm like, I was so unaware of that stuff. And now looking back, I'm like a bit embarrassed I feel like it's a good thing. If you're not embarrassed of your past, you're not growing.
Yeah.
So teaching other people that as well, because people lack so much self-awareness around what's actually going on in their relationship, how these patterns are being created. So that was the main thing, just giving people the tools on how to bring more awareness to your relationship to see the patterns that come up. Because now, even now, we move through days and there's conflict that comes up, and it's like, oh wow, that's something else I was unaware of. I didn't know I was doing that. So every single day we're growing, right? Every single piece of conflict we have, we're growing, and that's the switch. Like every relationship has conflict in some way. Some people avoid conflict, and that's a form of conflict in itself, right?
That's a good way of putting it. It's so true.
Yeah, just not having those tough conversations, scared of confrontation, that's conflict in itself, because you're sweeping things under the rug, and what happens over a long enough period of time, it'll blow up, right? Like imagine holding a beach ball under the water and you're just pushing it down, and eventually it'll blow up, right? So having the skills to actually approach those difficult conversations, talk it through, so nothing's being swept under the rug, and it doesn't blow up into something massive at the end of it, right? So that's a tool I feel like I give to a lot of people.
How would you encourage or recommend someone if they've had the scenario, they're like, okay, I sweep shit under the rug. I hate talking about this shit. I hate it. Or for one of the women who are like, I really want to talk about this and I don't know how. So probably like a strategy for the men and women, if you've got anything, like what's a way of being able to approach and bring up like a hard conflict conversation?
Yeah, rule 101, don't do it in the heat of the moment. Nothing happens when you're at super heightened emotional state. So you need to have a relationship check-in every single week if you feel like you're sweeping things under the rug. Because so often people don't actually talk, they just go about life. They turn into roommates, they turn into just friends after all, and they fall out of love, right? So you have to have relationship check-ins, keep your standards in a relationship. And this is a 30 to 60 minute slot every single week in your calendar where you and your partner actually sit down and go through what's going on, your expectations for the week, what happened last week, what did I do that made you feel loved or appreciated, all this stuff, right? So it's really important that if you feel like you're sweeping things under the rug, that you actually make time every single week in your calendar as a non-negotiable, that you two actually talk. And sometimes you feel like you're fine, like there's nothing to talk about, we're great. Then you have a relationship check, and you're like, oh, there are some things that came up actually. So it's so important every single week, set time in your calendar where you have a safe space to actually talk. You're asking a question, they're asking a question, going back and forth, and then not judging, not interrupting, not reacting. Can you sit there and hold yourself and not have to react to everything they say, not get defensive? So yeah, that's what I'd say. Just get that relationship check-in on the go. Yeah,
so true. And I think like an objection that people could have to that one is like almost like, but why? That's another thing. There's so much time here. There's so much time there spent. And like I think in regards to that, well, I'd like to hear your opinion on it in a second. Is I'm like, or if you want a high quality relationship, especially in like 2024, 2020s plus, like whatever it is, it's like we're living in the age of attention. So if you're not giving it attention, you're going to lose it. And if you're someone who doesn't value relationships and doesn't value relationship, then don't be in one, waste of time. But if you're someone who does value being in a relationship and wants love, it's like, you got to do it.
Yeah, if you want a great relationship, put the effort in all the time. And it gets easier over time as well. Like at the start, it might be effort to continuously do these things. You're not great at talking with each other. You're having conflict still. You're avoiding things. You're getting defensive, criticism, judgment, all this stuff's going on. And then over time, you actually get better. Slowly, until eventually you can't even remember being like you used to be. Remember, I used to get defensive about this. Remember, I was insecure about this. Remember, this used to trigger me so much. Remember when if you followed a guy on social media, my heart would drop into my stomach and I'd feel like shit for a week. And I wouldn't tell you about that because I'd avoid it for ages, because if I brought it up, then I'd be needy. Like all these patterns played out in a relationship, right? So if you actually start bringing things up, it becomes so much easier over time. And if you don't value your relationships, like you're gonna live a sad existence, because relationships is the core of everything else, right? Like we are meant for a sense of belonging with other humans. So if you don't work on that, how do you expect to get better at that?
Bro, this is why I think personal growth is so powerful, right? It's so important because like, regardless of what you want to, if you like on the entrepreneur journey, relationships, you want to run a team, manage people, staff, it's like, there's your own personal development. Like if you want to be in a successful relationship, realize and love that, there's your personal development. Every relation's going to like reflect something back at you. You want to be good in team sports or even individual sports, you got to learn so much about yourself. It's like, I'm like, man, that's why personal development is so important. So it's like every relationship, and I'm not sure if you find this, I'd like to hear your take on this, is it's like, some people like usually in relationships, one person, like what I found is if both people are dedicated to their own growth in relationship, it's like the best thing ever. And you're both so supportive and lift each other up. But if one person's growing in dedicated personal growth and the other one isn't, things can be a little bit tough. Do you come across?
Yeah, 100%. When people reach out to me asking for help in their relationship, it's never two people together. It's one person. Person one has noticed there's patterns in the relationship they want to change. Person two is unwilling to change or will do it unwillingly.
Oh.
A lot of the time, because there's so much friction when people want to improve their relationship, it's go from 0 to 1. A lot of the time, okay, cool. Step 1, convince my boyfriend to go see a therapist with me. Like, holy shit, that's such a big jump. So people don't make the changes in their relationship because of that a lot of the time, because there's such a big jump between 0 and 1. And a lot of people are unwilling to change, and that's such a big fear, like my partner will outgrow me. And that happens so much, because when someone starts to grow and this person's unwilling to grow, then the only option for this person is to come down to this level if you want to stay with that person. If he's not willing to meet you at where you're at, then you have to make a decision, right? This is something that happened in my previous relationship where I was growing in one direction. I was really valuing starting a business, personal development, all this. And then she was really valuing partying and going traveling and staying in backpackers and stuff like that. She wanted that lifestyle. And we tried to make it work for so long because we were pretty anxiously attached. So we was like holding on. Then it got to a point where it was so painful and we were so different that separated. And so many people hold on too long to a relationship when they know they're actually growing apart.
Well, what percentage do you think of people that reach out have that problem?
I feel like 8 out of 10.
Whoa.
Yeah, a lot of time, like so often the woman reaches out, like, I need help, my boyfriend's doing this.
I experience that all the time.
Because I was making content around relationships for men. I was purposely making it for men, and then 90% of the people that followed me and messaged me were women. It's like women are more receptive to doing the work and taking that first step, I found. Have you found that?
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
Like we have a lot of people like, because obviously like, if you're listening to this code before, I like to run the men's community. So we have a lot of people, I would say like 10% of our sales are partners buying it.
Wow.
Like women buying it for their partners. And because they're like, the guys are just resistant. But I do find there's a really gross taste in men's mouth of, oh, I've seen a psychologist or I've had to go see a psych. It's like there's really submissive feeling. And then, yeah, it helps and yeah, it does good, but also just the feeling that it's a bit different when they go like, oh, I joined this fucking men's group and it's sick.
Yeah.
So like there's like a little bit of a different like taste in the mouth there. And if someone has gone and seen a psych beforehand, then they're like, oh, I'm going to do more of this. Oh, God, it's going to be like a psychologist. You're like, no, it's fucking not.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's like a regular.
Yeah, so often people make that meaning like, if I go to a therapist, that means I'm broken. Like that's the meaning people make, right? Mm-hmm. If I work on myself, that means I'm broken. Mm-hmm. It's so reactive. You wouldn't do that with your personal health, would you? You wouldn't go to the gym once you've had a heart attack, once you've got diabetes. You wouldn't wait till that moment and then work on yourself. But so often people are reactive. They wait till they're depressed, they're suicidal, they've got anxiety to the point they can't leave their house, or their marriage is about to have a divorce. Okay, now it's time to reach out and ask for help. Yeah. Rather than being proactive and actually doing it first.
Yeah, it's like, because I've always said going to the gym is hygiene, because I'm like, it affects your mood, your attitude, everything else. And now just at the moment, I'm like, personal development is hygiene as well, because you're clean, you're tidy, like your energy feels good, you're growing, you're someone who can attract.
And that's what makes us happy as humans, right? Growth. Yeah. It's us progressing. And a relationship is made up of two happy people. People forget that, right? It's like you need to work on yourself on your own and also the relationship. So there's two aspects, right? There's three entities in a relationship. There's you, there's your partner, and the relationship. All three need work separately, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like as soon as you're missing one, it's like, you're gonna face some shit. So what, like, I'm curious, what are like some other symptoms that you see that are like really common that happen in the relationship dynamic? Like symptoms of like problems when things coming up.
I say defensiveness is a huge thing.
And describe what defensiveness like looks like.
So if you are being defensive, that means you feel the need to defend yourself, which means you're under attack from something, usually your partner. So if you're feeling the need to defend yourself, you see your partner as a threat, or the like something they're doing as a threat. So you feel the need to defend yourself and fight back. And then that creates that us versus them, two egos going at it, one wanting to defend himself, one attacking, one trying to control the other person, one judging the other person. So there's this defensiveness, right? Rather than realizing you're both on the same team and actually regulating yourself. seeing people can act from triggers, and that's not a personal attack a lot of the time. They're acting from the triggers, they're acting from the wounds. They're trying to control me this way, they're trying to do this. And not seeing that as a personal attack is such a skill to develop. But people get defensive. They react to whatever criticism comes their way.
So, sorry, that's really good. Really good. So what is the actual skill? Is it like emotional regulation?
Yeah, regulating yourself. So when someone comes to you, if your partner comes to you saying, you're not doing this enough, could you do this more? Instead of fighting back and blaming but I did this and you did that, then actually can you regulate yourself and see what's best for the team right now rather than what's best for me in this fight?
How do people do that?
By realizing you're on the same team. By dropping your ego. I always say there's 4 phases of a relationship. There's that honeymoon phase where it's like infatuation, you only see the good, right? You're just in love with the other person, so much oxytocin going in your brain, whatever happens. And then phase 2 is the comfort phase. It's not feeling the same as it used to feel. Things are different, we're getting triggered, we're not going on as many date nights. And then you can start to only see the bad in people. And then healing and growth is actually realizing you love all of them and you accept all of them. Because a lot of the time people don't go from the comfort phase to the healing growth. They say, this relationship obviously isn't working, I'll go to the next one. Or they'll try to go back to the honeymoon phase. Rather than facing their own shit and going through the healing and growth, falling in love with the other person, realizing you're a team, stop trying to change the other person. Yeah, people try and change their partner so much, but when you can realize you're 2 separate people and you can love them for who they are rather than who you want them to be, you stop trying to control or judge or criticize them. You just drop all that stuff.
Bro, I just had the best download as you were saying that.
What is it?
It's like the scary part for people in that 4th phase, as you were mentioning about, the scary part for people, why they go to like somewhere else or why they sabotage a relationship or whatever, is because it's like, if I love someone for all of their shit, then they have to love me for all of my shit. And if I have to open all my shit, it means that like I'm vulnerable, and weak, and can truly be hurt. And that's like
scary.
The threshold to get across.
Yeah.
It's like, that was like that for me.
Yeah, vulnerability is so important because you want to experience the depth of the human experience, right? There's no point playing at the surface. There's no point in the paddling pool playing around. You're a big boy now, you're an adult. Like, experience the whole range of the human experience. There's a lot of time, there's like the good emotions here, like joy, love, peace, ecstasy, all this stuff. And then the bad emotions, like embarrassment, fear, shame, hurt, guilt, grief. In order to experience the depth of these side, you must be open to experiencing the depth of this side. Otherwise, you're never going to fully experience it. I'm scared to feel these emotions, so you'll never experience these emotions. But once you can be fully open with your partner, you get to experience all of it, right?
All right, so how do both sexes like do that? How have you seen or like awareness around like really being able to, for lack of better words, like open yourself up or willing to like be hurt? Because what I see from the men that I work with is like some people would just like, for the elite people that I work with, is they'll just stay at the same level. They'll like grow because they're happy growing at like a level, but they're not truly getting out of their comfort zone. They're like, oh, well, I'm good. You know what I mean? I'm not great, but I'm really good. Then for everyone else who's around there, it's like symptoms of drugs, alcohol, video games, Netflix, not asking for pay rises, all these different things like that, like progressing. They'll just lean on that instead to put it somewhere else, like all that energy.
Yeah. So what was the question in that?
Yeah, so the question is, how can people like really open up, like allow themselves to open, this is like within a relationship dynamic, open themselves up or like feel like a willingness to be hurt? Because as you said, you want to feel the depths of the like emotions. So it's like, how does someone commit themselves to be able to do that?
That's it, right? The commitment. The first step of everything, every endeavor is a decision. I'm going to make this work. I'm committed to this relationship. I want to see us grow. I want to be a team. I want to make this work. I want us to experience the whole depth of the relationship, right? So many people are living in shitty relationships. Like, life is so short for that. So first step is the decision to actually do this. And then everything in life is a sale, right? You want to sell your partner on the idea of having this relationship where we're both open, where we're both willing to work through our own shit. So number one is a decision, and then it's awareness, right? Having awareness. Whenever something comes up, instead of reacting, instead of thinking you're broken, study yourself like a scientist. Just realize this stuff's coming up for a reason. Like, what do I get to work through now? Because you can't work through something that you're unaware of. So once it comes up for you, be like, I get to work through this now. So once it comes up, you get triggered, you regulate yourself, and then you discover where it came from, like a root cause, something in the past caused that, and then you actually openly communicate with your partner, usually in a relationship check-in that we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I love that because that
Yeah.
makes it so simple and actually practical, and you can do it. What's some of the things that you have learned that have been awesome? That you've learned some things about yourself or your partner that's been like, whoa, from either like a check-in or just like one of these conversations, like breaking through one of these things.
Just how like that it's okay to spend so much time together.
Nice.
And just the affection level of always being with each other, because my partner was always worried like that she's clingy in a relationship. She's clingy, she wants to be with me all the time, and then we realized like that's not a problem unless you call it a problem. Like nothing's a problem unless you call it a problem and it's causing you harm. So it wasn't causing us harm. We spend like a lot of time together. We're always reassuring each other, affectionate. We realize we're both anxiously attached, so so that awareness around that is really important. So yeah, I just feel like I don't want to call it the need, but the want to spend time together all the time, and that's okay. You can be best friends with your partner. You can be business partners. You can wear all the hats in your relationship. So that's something cool I realized. Before, everything was so segregated. It was, this is my business, this is my health, this is my relationship, this is my social circle, but everything gets to be one. So that's the biggest thing I learned, I reckon.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's actually sick. How did that come around?
Just slowly opening door, like letting down the walls, that vulnerability, relationship check-ins, working through the triggers, over time, every single day, recommitting to your partner every single day that we're going to work through stuff, that we're a team. Anything that comes up, bring it up. Don't sweep it under the rug. And then over time, the compounding effect of that, you got no more shit, right? And then all of a sudden, another piece comes up and you've got more to grow in. And like a relationship is the greatest personal development you'll ever do. You're going to face yourself so much. Your partner's going to be the biggest mirror for you, because there's only so much personal development you can do while you're single. When you get in a relationship, that's when you see if it actually worked, because they're going to reflect things back to you. Like everything that you don't like about yourself will be shown in that relationship. So you get to work through that.
And like that, like a real hard part like I find to let go in is like allowing your partner to support you and hold you accountable. I know that it's okay, and if they do, you haven't failed.
Yeah, a lot of men would have that, right?
Yeah. Well, especially me, even the same thing. I had that same thing. It was like really like sort of hard to receive.
Yeah.
When like the support stuff come in, I was like, this is fantastic.
It feels nice, right?
Yeah.
When your partner can hold you, you don't have to show up as anything. Sometimes you don't have to be strong. Like in those moments where you can just relax, there's no expectation. Like that's so nice sometimes.
Oh yeah, it's recharging. And
Yeah.
it's like that one little bit is just gone like,
yeah, that opens you up. Like the next day you wake up, you're like, cool, I'm ready to go together.
yeah, like so much energy.
Yeah.
Nah, I love that. That's really cool. What out of like, I'd like to know like a story that you may have had of when you like come to the realization of, holy shit, we actually get to do everything together. Because from like my example, there's some people are different from this, but I like it when my partner's clingy or I'm like, I like this. I feel like I'm wanted. Yeah, this is like great for me. Like, please be more clingy and attached. Like, I love it when you are. So like, have you got like an example of a story where that sort of started to click for you?
Yeah, so Mia and I, as soon as we met, we started mapping out goals together, and business was always separated, right? We both wanted to work for ourselves, be able to travel, make heaps of money, and it was always in our own stuff. So she was doing digital marketing, she owned a marketing agency, building that up. I was building this coaching business over here. And then slowly, we started to become closer and closer with that. It's like helping each other, having business meetings together. She was helping me with marketing stuff, I was helping her with coaching stuff. And then all of a sudden it was like, wait, what if we do the same thing? Like we're both super passionate about relationships. We've got the image of being in relationships, and then let's put that together. She's got such great marketing skills. I've had a lot of coaching experience. So we're just putting that all together. And at the start, we're like, is it a bit toxic if we work together and build a relationship together? And it's like, I don't know, guess we're going to find out. And then it actually worked so well. And yeah, just you get to speak about so much. You and your partner are doing completely different things, and there's only a limited thing to talk about, right? Because a lot of people go to work, and then when they come back together, it's like the last thing I want to talk about is work. What else have we got to talk about? I've been in work all day. But when you can actually build a business together and have so many common interests, there's so much more to talk about.
Whoa. And like, yeah, I get that. I really get that. And then like, I'm assuming like your conversations to be like a lot more deeper as well.
Yeah.
Because like you'd have like your conversation about work, and then it would lead into like you guys talk about each other and your own growth as well.
Yeah, because you throw things onto a relationship. In the honeymoon phase, it's so easy, right? Everything's easy going, and then you add moving in together on top of that. Like, ooh. Then you add this is real commitment on top of that, brings up more shit. Then you add building a business together on top of that. Then you add having babies, then getting married and all this. And so adding all these things onto a relationship will shake the boat a bit, will like rock the boat, and things will come up, and then you get to work through them. So adding a business into our relationship has definitely brought things up for us.
So good. Like what?
What's it brought up for us? Self-reflective there. My need to control came up. My need to micromanage. My need, like I felt more judgment towards Mia. That was coming up for me. So I had to drop my ego in that sense. Like, it's okay for her to bring her talents and expertise into the thing. It doesn't have to be this way. Just because she does it a different way doesn't mean it's wrong. That's something that came up, and we felt the need to control in your relationship.
Me?
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm super controlling.
I'm noticing that as well.
Like, yeah, having to like own it. That was actually a huge thing. Like, I wasn't sure we were going to make it when we went to Japan in October because a lot of it come up because we spent almost every single day together for a while, and then when we went to Japan, we were spending every single day together again, and then all of this like because Chloe and I both have like a bunch of traumas, so like our traumas were just like rubbing against each other, and then like it come up, and I was just like, let's let this come where I was like, oh yeah, I do this like micro controlling, and I remember I was like, oh, because I denied it for so long, and then like she really highlighted it to me, and I was like, yeah, I do all that. I'll take responsibility for all that. I'll change it immediately. And then she was more angry about that. She's like, and now you're running it. And I was like, yeah, should you be happy? And she's like, no, oh my God. It's like true. And I was like, yeah, it's true. Shit.
Yeah. And it's that acceptance, right?
Yeah.
Rather than trying to not deny it. It's like, what are they actually trying to tell me here? Yeah. Rather than be reactive and be like, I'm not in the wrong. It's like, oh, maybe I am controlling in my relationship.
Yeah. And notice, in fact, like she still loves me.
Yeah.
So the whole time I'm just like downing and thinking that she's not, she's gonna leave. Some trauma that was coming up about her, like going, it's like, no, she loves you and she's here. Like,
yeah. When you can create that solid rock in your life of a relationship, knowing your partner will love you through all of it. They love every side of me. It's like, wow, that's such a secure base that you get to create the rest of your life in. Yeah. You get to go out in business knowing you have such a strong backing in your relationship. Your energy is focused towards business, towards finance, towards health, because you got such a strong base in your relationship, right?
Yeah, I love that. Especially like, and like adding on to that a little bit is like even some of the stuff that I've told Chloe is just some of the darkest, dirtiest shit. Like I've been super promiscuous and like all these things that I just tell Chloe, and like she's like, cool. Or like there's something I felt shame around this memory that like hadn't remembered it in a long time ago. I need to tell you something, get it on my chest because I need like feminine forgiveness. And she's like, well, good forgive her. Oh my God, she gives me that. Yeah. That's so good. I needed that for so long. And like just having that there is just like, I'm like, wow, I really feel like I can be all of me and I don't have to hide fucking anything. Yeah. And I can be like so honest. It just feels best. Yeah.
So many men are walking through their life with this backpack full of shame.
Yeah, that's a good way of explaining it. Yeah.
It's just like, take the backpack off. Like, shame can only exist in the dark. As soon as it's brought to the light, it dissipates. Once you're loved for those things that you once held shame over, it dissipates. And that's the greatest thing about a relationship. You get to bring all that stuff up and you get to work through that shame. You get to take that backpack off.
Yeah. It's actually, and it's so good because, and as well as like the more shame that you open up to and lead into first, like your partner gets to as well. And then you both get to actually do your healing together and do the reassuring together as well. Because I find like sometimes I just need the words and be like, hey, like, what you did, so fine. I'm like, oh, wow, I didn't even know that's been on my head for like months. It's been affecting how I perform in everything, like business, how I show up with friends, how I show up leading my team. I've been an asshole for a few months just because I needed to tell her some little bit of shame that I've been fucking carrying.
Yeah, and people have so many covert ways of telling their partner something they want to tell them. So they go round the block to try and tell them, burning them even more. Rather than being emotionally brave and actually telling them straight up how you feel, you have all these different ways of going around the block and trying to tell them the thing. It's like if your partner starts putting on weight, it's like, hey babe, have you gone to the gym today? Hey babe, do you want this for breakfast? Like all the way around for months or years. And they're like, all you need to do was say, hey babe, I think we need to work out more.
Yeah, literally. I get way more turned on when we're working out more regularly. Like,
Yeah, rather than going around the block and scared to offend your partner.
yeah,
That's the biggest thing. Like, people are so scared to offend their partner.
yeah, that's a really good point. But I feel like people project that their partners are weak because they're insecure. So they're like, I'm not going to tell anyone that thing because I have this weakness in me, and if I tell them something, then they're going to reflect something back. So I got to like deliberate in it.
Yeah, if I can't hold it, they're not going to be able to hold it.
Yeah, but they can.
Yeah.
like 10 times out of 10, 9 times out of 10, they can.
Yeah, exactly. And as a man in a relationship, your job is to expand your container, make a strong container to hold your woman, right? So she can actually be expressive and she can tell you stuff. A lot of the time, women want to express themselves to their partner, and a lot of the time, it doesn't make sense because it's emotional, right? And then she comes to a man with an emotional problem, then he tries to fix it with logic, and then all of a sudden, she doesn't feel heard. He's like, what the fuck is she on about? She's like, doesn't make sense. And it just goes back and forth. But you have to regulate yourself as a man. Like, how much can you hold when your woman's expressing yourself to her? Even though it doesn't make sense a lot of the time, like, can you just hold that and let her express herself?
What is, in your perspective, what does holding it look like? Like, if someone was listening to this and they're like, oh, okay, I want to hold, that's sick, but how do I do that? And how would you describe like holding?
When she talks, let her talk instead of reacting with all your insecurities. Don't feel the need to be defensive, just hold it in the sense of letting her talk, letting her say things, letting her spot your weaknesses without trying to react about them.
Yeah, I know, right? It's crazy because a lot of guys, when they have that, they just feel like they're being attacked.
Yeah.
She's always coming at me, she's never happy.
Yeah, and sometimes they do need to get that off their chest, and there is something being highlighted. Maybe your partner doesn't have the skills to communicate it in the right way. She doesn't know how to do like a feedback sandwich where she says something nice, something negative, and then something nice. Maybe she just fires from the hips and tells you something. Can you actually hold that? Can you realize they're operating out of trauma or triggers or insecurities rather than seeing it as a personal attack all the time?
So do you think that's like one of the like main problems then is like, how do I put words to this? One of like the main problems would be like actually communicating and accepting feedback.
100%. Emotional regulation is one of the best skills in relationships because that's when all the arguments get worse. That's when you dig your hole. That's when you say things you don't mean. That's when it just gets even more nasty. That's when your girlfriend can't forgive you for something because you said something. It's like, can you actually regulate yourself? Think what's best for the relationship rather than reacting out of not wanting to be criticized.
Have you ever said anything nasty? Do you ever kind of be like, oh,
100%.
Because I can't imagine you as like a nasty guy. Like, you know what I mean? What, is there anything that you can share?
Do you know, like, there's that meme of two chihuahuas and they want to get their last bark in, so they're like going away from each other having a bark.
Yeah.
It's like that. You're like, oh God, I want to say something. I want to react. Like, I know I'm right in this argument and she's wrong, but it's like, what's best for the team? Can I swallow my ego right now? But sometimes it just feels so good to just tell them what you think and tell them what's on your mind. It's like, actually, you're wrong.
Dude, I create this story in my head. I'm like, she needs to hear this so that she can be better. Like, that's the story that I have in my head. I'm like, she needs to hear this.
Yeah.
If she doesn't hear it, we're going to die.
And so with best communication, right? Like, 80% of communication is non-verbal. It's through your word. It's through your tonality, your actions. And a lot of times they can take it as something else. They can interpret your actions as something when you meant something completely different. And a lot of men feel the need to defend themselves in that sense of like, when she took it this way and she's expressing herself, a lot of men bite back because they feel such a deep need to defend yourself rather than actually listening to your partner. So there's so many ways where emotional regulation is needed in your relationship to actually work through your stuff so it doesn't come out in the future.
Have you any tips on how to emotionally regulate? Like,
yeah, so a lot of things people blow up about is stress, not being able to deal with their stress. It's that beach ball under the water ready to blow up. Yeah. As soon as someone cuts you off in traffic, you blow up. As soon as your girlfriend criticizes you for something, you blow up. So it's like, how can you deal with your stress? And that's something I wanted to ask you actually. Working with a lot of men, how do they deal with their stress, like regulate themselves, all the stress from finances and work and relationships? How can they actually regulate themselves?
Good question. You nailed this before when you mentioned that men have to get out of their head and into their body. Like, from your brain, get to your feet. This is what, like, Because there's one missing link that we can't teach online, which is why we created the retreat, the next level, so that people can be like essentially so exposed to this that no matter what happens, they're so emotionally regulated. Like it just stretches your capacity to really emotionally regulate themselves. So like some tips that I have in regards to that is it's really body focused. So let's say, for example, I'm like this, and you're Chloe, and yeah, and then something happens. I'm like, wait, what do you mean? And then she didn't like my tone, and then she reacts something to me like, oh, you whatever it is, and I'm just like button back, like, what the fuck, whatever, and we start going back and forth like that.
Yeah.
The way that I encourage people to emotionally regulate is one, it takes confidence and balls. That's something that you teach is like, okay, I've got to be willing to be hurt, but I'll come and face, open my whole body, literally like this, and I just go, okay, and like literally as if I'm going to hold her. Like I open my whole body up, my palms are open. You can see the insides of my arm. I open my legs, and like I'll just stand and stare like in the face and just be like, I'm fucking here.
Yeah.
Like
bring it.
It's almost like a bring it, but like I'm gonna hold this no matter how many triggers, because I get really triggered. Like I get mad triggered. I get hit when people are like, I get all these responses. Like I've been really blowy uppy before because my fucking just traumas that I've had, like my mom and other people. I've been used to, I would say, verbal violence. So like that's a pattern and a trait that I have to, like a dragon that I have to stop myself from doing it. Every now and then it comes out, and I'll like come down and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry for reacting like that.
And so unaware of it all the time until it happens.
Yeah, so it's that is one is like the skill of being able to like, I need to do this. And the other one is when it starts bubbling up in my chest, is the first thing that I do is I just say the emotion that I'm feeling in the calmest voice that I can. Be like, I'm feeling so angry right now. I just need to let you know that I'm holding back from bawling up. Be super honest about it. I think I need 5-10 minutes. And just really, and it's like, no, you didn't get 5-10 minutes. It's like, just reminding you again, I need 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm about to blow. I can't take any more. My cup is full with this and I need to calm down. So that's like ways that work for me. There's obviously other different ways, but like for me specifically, but having being stretched beforehand gives me the ability to do that. Because if I had been stretched like I have, some of the stuff that I've gone to, and like done that crazy like body work, then when I get hit with a trigger, my body would be able to handle it.
Yeah, I love that second technique. Said I call it name it to tame it.
Oh,
so as soon as the emotion comes up, like a lot of the time, men just think in the logical brain, competitiveness, drive, ego, focus, singular focus, all this, and they don't dive into the feminine, like the right side of the brain, where all this other emotion comes up. So it's like as soon as you can link the two, like you can make sense that this emotion's coming up, you become more emotionally intelligent in a way. So as soon as it comes up, you're aware of the emotions, you reassure your brain that you're not going to die. Because when this stuff comes up, your brain thinks, I'm going to die.
It literally does. Like
an ancestry brain, like there is a bear chasing me.
Yeah.
And when you can reassure yourself, be like, actually I'm safe. It's not life threatening, it's just ego threatening. It's just my ego, it's okay, calm down, and you can actually relax. And the point on triggers as well, I was in the supermarket in the car park, and then I saw this red car come in, and instantly I felt so much anxiety in my body and fear and walking on eggshells. All this emotion came up, and I had no idea where it was from. It was unconscious. And that red car used to be the car of my boss about 10 years ago. And every time he came into the office in his little red car, everyone would walk on eggshells and everyone would get anxiety. I didn't even realize at the time why I was feeling that way. I just felt these emotions in my body. And then I realized it's because that red car pulled in, and I used to feel anxiety 10 years ago when the boss pulled into the car park of work. And that's how triggers work a lot of the time. You don't consciously know what's happening. You unconsciously feel it, and then you have to name it to tame it, right? You have to name your emotion.
I love that.
Yeah.
Name to tame is sick. Have you got any others like that?
Name it to tame it?
Yeah.
I think it was the head straight away.
Because like that is absolute pure.
I'll leave this podcast like, fuck.
I've probably got like 6 others to go.
There's so much in the program of like different things.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, because you guys are building out a hectic program at the moment.
Yeah, so the biggest thing is removing friction from couples actually doing the work. Like I said before, there's such a big step. 0 to 1 is convincing my partner to go see a therapist. That takes a lot of vulnerability. Maybe he's not ready, maybe she's not ready. But when you can actually learn the skills yourself, like it's designed for one person to go through it and do the work themselves, and then implement those changes into the relationship. Because humans work by action, right? By displaying actions they need some convincing through action that's working rather than command. So humans learn through doing and through watching rather than actually direct command. So when you can implement these skills into the relationship, then you start to motivate your partner, and then you become great rather than that massive first step that keeps so many couples stuck.
That's so good, because that really hits the objection point of when people are like, well, if I'm doing all of this work, like my partner should be doing it too. Do you hit with that sometimes? Like, oh, then how come they aren't doing it? How come I have to be the one that does all this?
It's that constant reminder that you're a team.
Yeah.
Every time people are always trying to escape this. Like there's individuality, and then everyone's trying to get back to individuality. But it's like, you are a team. Are you willing to work through it together? Because when you love someone, you can't just love the best things about them. You have to love the worst things about them. That's the whole package, right? That's why people jump from relationship to relationship. Oh, my partner got insecure about this. Like, oh, I can't deal with that. It's like, can you love them for all of it rather than just what you want to love them for?
And be comfortable leading sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, can I be first? Can I be the first person to reach out and actually make this change rather than waiting for my partner to constantly lead me? Even the women, like if there's women listening to this, then you get to go first as well. You get to lead the relationship in some aspects, especially with doing the work. And you can help your man so much through that, through actually learning the skills. Like, what's going on in the man's head? What's going on in my head? How can I fully understand myself? What's the relationship roadmap we're on? Where are we at on a journey? So much.
I got something cool to talk about on that.
Yeah.
So, like one thing that I've worked a lot with men is purpose. It's one of the main things that we focus on. A lot of stuff comes down to is like feeling purpose. So feel the purpose, and they can understand their purpose, and they can rationally, logically understand it. They fight for it. But there's things that activate people's purposes. We've got like one of these frameworks called purpose, beauty, danger. And one of the things that we understand is like they all contribute to purpose, and unless they're like balanced and they're off, then you're shooting yourself in the foot. So like beauty, big meaning like relationships, danger meaning thrill and adrenaline, and purpose meaning essentially what hierarchies that you're climbing. But what happens in a large percent of men is they require the woman to activate them, to activate their purpose.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, they don't have a reason why. So, and it makes it really difficult for them to take the first step, which actually takes her to take the first step. So, like, if any women are listening to this, or even guys who might be sending it to their partner, like, activate me, you know what I mean? Like, that's me. I mean,
My button.
Yeah, it's like, if any women are listening to this, if they're listening to this, like, go jump on Charlie's program, especially if you're the person who wants like a partner. Like, this is the big, he's got all the steps that you need to jump on for that. But the thing is when she does start taking action, and she does start doing the things, and she does showing up with the emotional stuff, and she just keeps it for a little while. Like, yeah, he still is a little bit shitty because he's got all this resentment from the past. But when she does and she leads and she can hold that, he immediately is like, I'm going to hold it back. Because he wants love.
Yeah.
He wants connection. Like all of that. We all do as guys, right? We want it. Like, I'd say more so.
Yeah. Oh, there's another technique around that. When your girlfriend starts growing, you're like, fuck, I better grow as well.
Yeah, literally. Or I'm going to lose the goddamn. But especially if she's like not doing it in a like a toxic way, but a healthy way, by working on herself and showing that she's committed and dedicated. And if he can feel that safety, which a lot of the guys will never admit that, like, oh, we need to feel safe. Like, I didn't even realize that I needed to feel safe in a relationship until like the last couple of years. I'm like, no, I need to feel safe. Shit.
Yeah. And
So
it's a big self-worth piece for men wanting to work on themselves. Like, a lot of men love their girlfriend more than they love themselves.
oh yeah,
See that all the time.
oh my god, Charlie, that is fine.
Yeah. It's like, I love you more than myself. Like, I would take anything for you. I would do anything for you. It's like, cool, can you actually work with yourself in this relationship? Like, oh, actually, yes, that's something I'll do.
Yeah,
Like, men would walk through fire for their girlfriend. But it's like, can you also work on yourself for your girlfriend?
yeah. So true. Yeah, for your girlfriend. That's like the whole reason, which is where like some of it.
And ultimately you, right? It just bounces back. It's so reciprocal. When you work on the relationship, you also work on yourself so much.
Yeah, and it gets to be really good. So what do you think then? Because I've been thinking about this topic like this in the back of my mind this whole podcast. It's just like, for you, what do you think are like either the main like responsibilities or differences that happen between like men and women, and then what are the symptoms that happen when they don't?
It varies a lot for men and women, and men are generally more wired for the masculine of drive and achievement and this, and then women naturally want to be more nurturing and receptive and mothering. So a lot of the time there's energy from the front and there's energy from the back. Men are often outward energy. They want to achieve, they want to drive, they want to go forward. And women are so great at keeping the family together, keeping the relationship together and nurturing so much. And there's that receptiveness. So they both work so well together. There's that polarity, right? Where the man's striving and achieving, and he can also come back to that secure base of being nurtured by his girlfriend. And the girlfriend as well, she gets to go out and achieve and come back to that place as well. So I feel like when you're striving for that divine masculine and the divine feminine, that you encapsulate all of it and you get to work in your strengths. So when you realize like men are different, oh, he really wants to go out and achieve, he wants to do this, he wants to do that. By me blocking that, it's making him less happy, meaning the relationship suffers for that. Say, cool, what are my strengths and what are your strengths? A lot of women try and find strength in being the man. Like, if I'm strong, they act masculine rather than seeing the strength in the feminine of holding that together.
Dude, how did you like work through that?
Of just both of us seeing our own power. Like Mia sees so much of her own power in, she's like, I want to be a mum. I love nurturing. I love when there's mushrooms outside. She's like, oh, the fairy garden. Like, she's such little girl, feminine energy in that. And she's like, I see my power in that. I've realized before, if I wanted to feel powerful and successful, I acted like a man. I wanted to build this big business. I wanted to do this. And she's like, I've actually realized the power in being a woman, the power in being the feminine and loving that. So she really stands for, like, she posts so much great content around how women can be powerful in their feminine rather than trying to be a man.
Oh my God. That is so good. Holy hell.
Yes, like, so many women try and get the power from being a man.
Oh, wow. That is crazy. And for you, has that been like so much more paternal?
Yeah, absolutely. Like seeing a girl feeling so safe that she can be like the little girl energy around you. It's like, oh wow, she must feel so safe, because so many women hold that masculine shield, right? It's like, I need to protect myself. And that causes so much problem in the relationship. So many men want this woman who can soften, this receptive woman, but you need to actually lead. You need to make her feel safe. She will never soften unless you make her feel safe. So it's such a compliment when the feminine feels safe in a feminine, so she can actually express herself. She can be that little girl around you.
Wow. So then you do this and they're like, okay, my partner, mad masculine chill. Gets up. She does not feel safe to be feminine around me. She likes doing all the masculine stuff. The only tips for them for they can do to help like soften, dissolve that shield?
Yeah, so carrying the load and sharing the load. So that woman, if she's over masculine, she feels like she's holding a lot. She has to do a lot. She has a lot of tension. She's probably not in her body. She's probably not orgasmed in months. It's like, you need to actually share the load with her of like what's happening in her life, unpack things, relationship check-ins again. Everything comes back to that. That is the foundation, the backbone of your relationship. It's like, what's going on? What are your goals this week? And how can I support you in that? How can I make your days a little easier or better? And slowly over time, she starts unpacking this load she's got. Even if it's just in her brain of all this stress, it's like, can the man take on that stress? Because of the stress being shared, it's like, it dissipates a lot of time. So that's the biggest thing. Like, how can I carry the load for my girlfriend rather than her carrying the load herself, and being in her head rather than being in her body?
Oh my God, I'm having like so many moments right now. I don't even know what to say because so many thoughts running from my brain. Like, that makes so much sense as to like beforehand. There's like so much justification as like why men need to do the work, because it's like, well, if you're not doing the work, you're not gonna be able to carry as much load. But then it's a paradox, because it's like, well, if I do take time for myself, then I can't hold on to the little drabs of what I'm currently doing. And I said, but there's so much more. I also had happy to talk about that if you want to put on that. I just had another point. If you had anything to say on that, just put it in the back of your head. Nothing. I had which is so fascinating. I was talking to a female coach that's sending me. She's got like a women's community. She teaches women stuff. And I was like, why? What is the main thing that all like your women are reaching out to you for? And she was like, well, and I was like, well, and what's happening like in the relationship? What's some of the main problems that happen? She was like, well, most of the time women are having sex with their men and the guys are doing such a shit job that they're going to finish themselves off in the shower afterwards.
Wow.
And that's most of the women that I work with. And they want to have better connection with their partners.
That's crazy.
And she works with hundreds of women.
It's such a downstream problem when you stop having sex. It's like, That's what it all leads to a lot of the time. Just no intimacy. You become roommates. You're just sleeping in the same bed together. No connection there. And it's those upstream problems, right? Everything that happened before that's causing that. You can't have sex when you're so stressed out about business and finance and you're holding on to anger from an argument that happened 3 weeks ago and you're not sure if he's cheating on you. Like, how are you supposed to have sex when that's going on?
Exactly. So, like, what do you think are some strategies then that people can use to increase intimacy, like through conversation? Because I know it would come down to like relationship check-in, or some things that people could say or like reinsure to increase that intimacy that could.
Yeah, just clearing out all the shit, everything that's under the rug. Because people sweep things under the rug until eventually there's a fucking monster under that rug and it's coming out to ruin your relationship. It is scary. So bring up all the shit. If you're a guy, bring up everything that's going on for you. Because there's things that you haven't said in your relationship that needs to be said. And because you're not saying those things, you're not having sex with your partner. And you're not having sex with your partner, so you go watch porn. And you go watch porn and you no longer turn on by your partner. And it's just a downward spiral, more and more addicted to porn. And you start getting sneaky about it. When she leaves the house, you go and watch porn in the bathroom or whatever. It's like, you need to open up about what's going on in your head so it doesn't ruin your relationship downstream.
Yeah. And it's scary.
And find your purpose as well, like the work you do.
Yeah, it's so true. I think a lot of it though, like one of the main things is like, it's scary, right? For people listening to this, even I'm listening to this, because I'm like, yeah, that was me. I was the guy that was on the side, looking at my phone, looking at the porn all the time. You know, I was like, no, I'm singing fun. Why would I do that? Why would I do this? She's angry at like 100 other things like beforehand. Like I'm being that person that played all those like archetypes. Have you listening? I'm just like, the main thing is just so fucking scary. I'm like so scared. Like for me, it was just like mainly using myself as an example. It was just like I don't want to put my heart out there. It's gonna get squashed. I'm like, fuck that. So scary.
Yeah.
So it's like, what are some things and some tips that I'm gonna things that other people that are listening, because I'm like, you know, I've had very common problems. So I'm like majority of people listening could probably resonate. What do you think? Some things that advice you give to people if they are, you know, scared? It's like what things they can say, ask for. Is there any like examples that you know working with people you have in your relationship which like help move through some of that?
Yeah, it all comes down to baby steps, right?
Yeah.
How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So it's those tiny things. And the first step is being honest to yourself. What are you scared of? What's coming up? What's the last thing you want your girlfriend to know about you? What are all these things? So spend time on your own. Meditate every day. Go for a walk in nature without your phone. Feel what comes up. Journal out your thoughts. Because if you try and communicate to your girlfriend and you don't even know what's going on in your head yet, like, how's your girlfriend going to receive that? You're going to say things you don't mean. She's going to react. You're going to be like, oh, no, I didn't mean that, though. That's what you said, though. And it's all this back and forth. So actually spend time on your own. Figure out your thoughts. Figure out what's real and what's fake. And then actually communicate that with your girlfriend through baby steps, right? Like, oh, I was meditating. This thing actually came up. And when you do that, you realize, oh, my girlfriend actually can hold me and she wants to hold me. Rather than feeling shame of, if I look weak, then she'll find me unattractive. Well, you're already not having sex, so you might as well tell her.
Oh yeah, it goes both ways. I had like the best text. Sorry, Chloe, I'm throwing her under the rug right here. But it's like the best text message ever. It felt so good. It was like one thing where it was just like I hadn't reshared one of her stories in a while that she put up, and it was just 'cause like busy and stuff, right? And she was like, "Hey, can you please reassure me for like that you're not sharing any of your stories for any like toxic reason?" She's like, "I know it sounds silly, but I just need to hear it." I was like, that's the best fucking text message ever, of course. I'll share a story right now. Like, oh my God, like I'm so happy that I get to like make you feel better by you being vulnerable about that. I was like, that's one of the best messages that I've like ever received from you. And I was like, thank you for sending that message. Because that makes me feel like wanted and needed and desired that I can support that. Because if you were ever going through anything like that, I would love to hold that for you.
Mm. And a lot of people are so unaware, like you'd have no idea unless Chloe actually told you that.
Yeah.
Men and women are so complicated. Expecting your girlfriend or boyfriend to know how to love you is like trying to build a rocket ship without an instruction manual, right? You need to actually teach them how to love you best. Otherwise, they're just going to be pissed in the wind. They're not going to know how to actually love you, and they're going to get it so wrong. So you need to actually teach your girlfriend or boyfriend how to love you.
I reckon that is one of the main things that can help people get over being scared of sharing the shit. Because that question you said activated me big time, and you said, like, what is the things that you know about yourself that you don't want your partner to know about you? And it's like when you know that about, like when your partner does eventually know those things, and like baby steps is to get them when they do, it's like the most freeing thing ever.
Yeah, as soon as they know, it's like, all this weight I was carrying. Sometimes it's this unconscious weight. Like I didn't know I was carrying that until I dropped it. And now I just feel so free. You feel this neurological change in your body where there's like vibrations going down your spinal cord. You're like, oh wow, I finally let go of that thing. And a lot of times people don't know they're holding on to it. So being honest with your girlfriend, first being honest with yourself, like what am I shameful of? What's the last thing I want people to know about me? What's the last thing I want my girlfriend to know about me? It's like sometimes like, oh, I slept with 5 girls in a week. It's like, oh fuck, I don't want my girlfriend to know that. And sometimes you're holding on to that thing. You're like, oh, I just need to let go of it. That's not me, by the way. So it's all about baby steps.
Oh yeah.
Doing little things first, opening up, being honest to yourself, and then you can actually be honest to your girlfriend.
Yeah, crazy. Which one thing that, from my perspective, especially working with other guys, is it's like, unless you have a really like already like amazing relationship, and even still, regardless, as a guy, take your shit and your problem to the other guys first. And if you haven't got good guys around you, go get some more. Like that's simple. Like if your friendship group, you can't talk about and have these crazy conversations and like bounce back and forth, sort of like you and I are right now, then go get some new friends. Doesn't mean you have to let go of old friends. Just get some new ones you can go and take that stuff to. Because sometimes it's so heavy and you need like the guys to like help you out and like work through it. Because if you try to take it to your partner, you're just emotionally dumping on her. It can be like really unattractive sometimes. Like me and Clove had some of our best breakthroughs in some months. We've been at each other and we've both been like, I need to go talk to her.
Yeah.
Some of the guys. And she's like, I'm gonna go hang out with the girl this afternoon. And we come back and like the best conversation. We're like, yeah, figured it out, yeah.
Yeah, having people around you where you can talk out your thoughts, because sometimes they don't make sense in your head. Like, why am I feeling this way? Am I crazy? Why is this coming up for me? Does this mean the relationship's broken? You can go into panic mode a lot of the time. People spiral, overthink into this mad tangent. Where one conversation with one of your boys, it's like, oh, actually, it's come up for him as well. It's totally normal. Actually, I'm not crazy. Like, oh, cool. This is why it came up. Oh, this is how to work through it as well. So having those friends around you where you can bounce off and be like, I'm not crazy. Other people go through this shit as well. And then eventually you can take that to your girlfriend and actually work through it.
Yeah, especially to get rid of some of the ick first. Because for me, I do like a lot of traumas and triggers. So sometimes I'll like go talk to like one of my mates and they're really, when they call you forward in a way where it's like, no, bro, there's some shit that you gotta own. And if you say that, like, she's not gonna like run that because that's like crossing her boundaries and projecting that, like, whatever shit it is. So I really have a word like that. And I was like, yeah, I was gonna do it the other way. I just definitely do it that way.
I wish you were a yes man.
Yeah,
From my clients. Someone reached out to me this morning and they're like, my partner saw a dating app on my phone and she went nuts and she's super insecure about it. Like, oh, I wish she wasn't so insecure. Like, the app isn't even activated. It's just there. Like, why is she so insecure? I shouldn't have to feel this way. It's like, nah, you gotta take that shit. Like, you're going out with someone, maybe they have trust issues. Can you love their whole, the whole package that comes along with that? And put yourself in their shoes. So perceptual position is a great technique. So that's another one. It's where you put yourself in their shoes and feel what they're feeling. Feel into their past, what they come from. Why would they be acting like this? And what reassurance do they need right now?
What's that called again?
Perceptual positions.
Perceptual positions.
Yeah, the dumbed down word is put yourself in their shoes.
Yeah. I still like the terminology.
Yeah, it sounds fancy there.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, so put yourself in those shoes. Like, what do they need? If you were in their shoes and you found your partner with the dating app on your phone, how would you react? Like, oh, actually, yeah, I can see that. So it's like, yeah, you need to sort out that shit. Like, you cannot have a dating app on your phone if your partners feel like that.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like that's kind of like ways of actually taking action on respect. Because if you, like, and a lot of us are unknowing, because I had that like exact same thing happen immediately. I was like, oh my God, so sorry. Like, this was here for whatever it is. And I understand from like person choosing, like when you said, I think it was real powerful, loving them anyway. Like, oh, I love you even if you're insecure about these things, because I can like provide it. I'll listen to you, I'll talk to you, I'll reassure you 100 times for a couple of weeks, even if that's needed to let you know that you're safe. Like, you can go through my phone and you can do the things, whatever you need to do to help you process. Yeah. So that you can get back to just loving me as best as you can. Because I like being loved this way, as you said, which is like teaching someone.
Yeah, and there's so much communication that is non-verbal. Like, when you wake up in the morning, what's the first thing that you do? Do you check your phone or do you say good morning to your partner? Or what about how many girls you're following on Instagram? What does that say to your partner?
Yeah.
So like all this stuff, right? So unfollow all the girls. Like if you are committed to this girl, unfollow all the girls on social media that you used to follow, that you maybe used to talk to in the past or whatever. Any photos of exes in your camera roll, just delete them. It's like, why are you holding on to that imaginary past where you can actually step into the future with this girl that you love so much?
Oh, there's so much buyout. Like, is this one thing like unconsciously I remember going through, and like I clearly really appreciated that. It was really good. It's like reaffirming. It's like deleting all the followers, doing everything else, and even still, even when I was single, I was like, I only want to like follow unless they're like really inspirational in like business or something like that, or like motivation that's really inspirational. I'm only going to follow. Like I don't discriminate between like men and women who are following. If they're inspirational and they help me, I'm going to follow them.
Yeah.
Then anyone else, as a woman, if I was following them, it was for the sole reason of like, I want to wife this chick. Like, end on. This is like a potential person who I can like wife. So I follow and like the stories and start the sales process.
Get to the top of the funnel.
Get to the top of the funnel, yeah.
That's what happened with Mia and I. She was working for a marketing agency, and then I was seeing her ads on Instagram, heaps of ads coming up, and I just watched them over and over again. They kept coming up on my feed. I was like, oh, they're coming up for a reason. And that's really hot. Like, I put her in the pretty girl category, but she's also talking about scaling businesses to 200, 300K a month. I'm like, fuck, that's hot.
That's so hot.
I found her page. I didn't follow her yet. I was just watching her stories for like 2 weeks just to see what type of person she was. Because if she was going out getting pissed every weekend, like, obviously that's not my person. But then she was showing like these good habits and stuff. I was like, cool. Little follow, little like on the story, like slowly warm up to it. Yeah.
I love that. Hey, that's like pretty much exactly what happened with Chloe and I as well.
Yeah.
Similar story.
Start moving closer and closer together.
Yeah. It's like I sent a few messages and then she left me on red. And then she sent me some messages. I was like, fine, leave you on red. And then she messaged me
Playing
back.
the games.
It was really tit for tat, but it worked.
Yeah.
And timing worked out perfectly.
And the rest is history.
And the rest is golden day in history. That's it. What else is like, because one of the main things that we talked about beforehand was the problem of, because I really loved the 0 to 1. I love that, and I love how like most of the people that are reaching out is like one person. Is it predominantly women being like, how can I make this like relationship good? Because I really want to fucking lead in here. So like that being one. Some of the other 20% problems that you find of like why people come to you. Like, what are some of the other ones that maybe we haven't touched on just yet?
Trust issues.
Oh, that'd be a huge one.
Massive one. Just overthinking all the time. Whenever she goes out with the girls, he overthinks like there's going to be boys there. Whenever he follows someone else on social media, oh my God, my heart drops into my stomach. Why are you doing this? So trust issues is a massive thing when you don't feel secure within yourself. I find the person with the lowest self-worth in a relationship will experience the most jealousy in that relationship. So a lot of time it is a self-worth thing. And a lot of the time your partner does need to change what he's doing to make you feel more reassured. And you need to actually tell him that, because sometimes he's doing things that he doesn't know is wrong. He thinks this is so okay because he has a different value system. He has different standards. He has different beliefs. So what he's doing, he doesn't think is wrong. But from your point, it's so wrong and it makes you feel insecure. It's your responsibility to tell them. It's not their responsibility to know. So trust issues is a massive piece that comes up. And a lot of the time it's self-worth issues, and it's actually communicating what makes you feel insecure.
Oh yeah, back to the scary stuff again.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Baby step with the scary stuff. Scary stuff. Let's go. Scary stuff. God damn it. Get these tongue twisters out here. But those so essentially it's like, where do you think trust issues come from? Because what I think would be like, well, previously it would have been someone's hurt before. So
there is a lot of with attachment styles. There is a study that you're born with them, and yes, they can change a little bit. There's a study called the Strange Situation Test where they put different babies into a room and see how they react. So they went into a room with their mum, and then their mum was instructed to leave the room. And how the baby reacted determined their attachment style. And the anxious attachment was clawing at the wall, like really, really angry that the mum left. And when the mum comes back in, it wouldn't leave. It's just attached to the mum. The securely attached got a little bit upset, but it was okay. Emotionally regulated itself. And then the avoidant didn't notice the mum leave, didn't notice the mum come back. And I say this because a lot of the time, avoidant people don't feel those trust issues because they know so much that they'll be okay if they broke up. They keep their distance, right? They don't want to be smothered in their relationship. And then secure people know, oh no, like I can regulate myself and I can ask for what I want. But then the anxious people are often the ones that are insecure and they get jealous. And they're the ones that need that reassurance the most, right? So they look at every little action, make it mean 100 different things in their relationship, and they don't bring it up because they're scared of confrontation, in case it leads to a tough conversation, in case it leads to breakup. Then I'll be alone. Then I'll never be loved again. He'll find someone else. Like, they go down this cycle of overthinking. If you're not anxiously attached, that's the cycle that can go on in the brain.
Clip that shit. Put that as some short form content. That was wild.
Get the short form.
Get the short form. That was so good. It's so funny. My brain was just going like, now, how conscious like relationships pick up going on like Tinder and Hinge and stuff. First question. How did you used to react to your mum when you were a baby? Like, what do you think? I'm going to understand if they're anxiously attached or avoid. Who do I want? Everyone's just going for secure people. They're so rare.
Best way to find a secure person is to be a secure person.
Oh, so true.
Because I don't know what it is, like anxious people attract avoidant people and the opposite way around. With the avoidant, I feel like they love being needed. They want to know that their partner wants them more than they want their partner. It's like a superiority thing.
I love that. That's probably interesting. I go between both of them. Sometimes I'm really attached and sometimes I'm avoidant. It's interesting because I thought it was actually more attached, but I think that become addition through some traumas, just thinking right now. And I probably think I'd be more avoidant now, thinking of that, because I like that. That's like
a lot of time, if you're anxious attached, avoidant behaviors can just be protest behaviors. Like, you could be doing those things, acting avoidant, when you're actually actually anxious.
Oh, that's cool.
And you're doing that to regain connection with your partner. For example, you could be anxious attached. Your partner could go out with the boys and leave you alone, and you want reassurance. You're like, fine, I'll go out with the girls.
Okay, no,
I'll try and make him jealous. When you're actually, all you want is connection with your partner and reassurance. But you're going around this roundabout to try and get it, rather than being honest with your partner.
As you said beforehand, that's probably the key thing that you were like saying is like one of the highlights that I got from this conversation is definitely like people going around the thing when they're just like speaking to it like, hey, just letting you know you going out with the mates tonight make me feel a little bit insecure. I just love some reassurance that like, you're not going to leave me and everything's sweet and I'll be good.
Yeah, teaching your partner that's boundaries, right? Mia and I have a rule where whenever we leave the house, we let the other person know where we're going. It's more of a safety thing. If Mia's out of the house and I don't know where she is, my brain goes to, she's in danger. Yeah. And that makes me feel like shit. I'm worried all the time. I can't focus on anything else. So we have such a rule where whenever we leave the house, we let the other person know where it is. And from an outside perspective, a lot of the time people say, oh, that's controlling, always keeping a tab on your partner. It's like, no, that makes me feel secure and I'm going to express that. Because all I'm doing is wanting to make sure she's safe. Like, that's my number one priority. So it's like, I'm going to communicate that so I don't feel like shit when she leaves the house.
I understand, especially like, as a guy, if I've left and I haven't told like my partner where I'm going, I still feel a little bit. Anyway, if I go and not tell her, I still feel like, am I being a dick right now for some reason? So it comes up. Yeah,
a lot of people feel contempt in their relationship. Like, it builds up to a point of contempt where they want to get one over on their partner. They feel like they're better than their partner's below them. So when they leave the house and don't tell them, they sort of like that thing. There's like an evil side of them that they want their partner to worry. They want their partner to feel insecure. And it's such a toxic behavior that I see.
That's like manipulative, evil magician type shit.
Yeah, like a dark, feminine, manipulative.
Oh, yeah. That was me for a while.
Yeah.
I had to work through a lot of that shit.
Like, I want my partner to feel insecure so that they give me more attention, so that I'm loved.
Dude, literally, one of the reasons why I find that I have some really awesome skills in coaching is because in relationships beforehand, I was so scared of someone cheating me. I cheated so many times. Was I become so manipulative. And I could manipulate like that so well. Now I had all the skills and all the stuff, and then it was had to be like, okay, now I have to go for a walk.
Yeah.
So like, I don't manipulate, and instead it's all positive because now I've made the brain connections.
Yeah.
What is, and it's like.
You can learn all the skills to avoid working through your own shit.
Oh, man.
But you get to a point where you're like, okay, actually, I need to work through my own shit.
Or you're fucked. Like, literally. Otherwise, it's like you're literally fucked.
Or you'll end up alone.
Yeah.
If you don't work through your shit in a relationship, you'll just, like, your partner will reveal the parts of you that you don't love about yourself. And these shadows will always chase you unless you actually face them in the next relationship.
And I feel like even in the relationship, it's like, let's say you don't end up in another relationship and that isn't even your goal. Is like all the shadows and shit that you got from one relationship is going to show up business, career, hey shop and everything else. And it'll just leak through everything. And then you want, like, I feel like our souls know where we're at. We'll always want to get better. And unless we serve it, then we just shove our own shit under the rug and become bitter, angry, fat, slobby people that are just wanting to punish ourselves. And it's not a stupid reason. It's for, as you said, shame the backpack.
Yeah, isn't it crazy that every single human wants to be better? They want to do better. They want to be happy. They want to love and be loved. There's just piles of shit on top of it, insecurities and all these limiting beliefs and past traumas and triggers that fuck us up so much. So like, people need to do the work to get back to that point where they're honest, they're vulnerable, they're open to the world, they're transparent, and they can actually grow in their life rather than living from insecurity. Because so many people create from a point of insecurity rather than a place of abundance and joy and wanting to create this. People's lives are built up of avoiding the triggers and wanting to feel enough.
Yeah, and like, if I do this thing, I'll be safe, instead of just doing the safe thing or asking for it.
100%. It's that roundabout thing all the time, right? I can't remember the name of it. Inferential communication, maybe?
Is that what it's called? Something like that?
Yeah, I think so. When you don't there's direct communication and there's inferential communication. When you're not actually telling them what you want, you're trying to manipulate them in a way that you get what you want.
Yeah, which is actually, like, I would say more feminine.
Yeah.
Directly speaking to the thing.
100%.
Crazy. Well, Charlie, where can people find you, and how can they get onto your program to learn all this crazy shit?
Yeah, so Instagram's the best place. Charlie and Coach. Just follow me there. And we also have a YouTube channel called Mia and Charlie. I'd say Instagram's the best place. And then, yeah, Conflict Code launches on the 11th of January, which by the time this is out, it's probably out by now. So yeah,
Cool.
Super excited.
Conflict Codes. You go find Charlie at Charlie Owens Coach on Instagram. You can find there. Everything's linked below.
Yeah.
As well. So everyone, thank you so much for listening. And Charlie, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks, brother.
Nothing. The third